Hey traders, it's Taylor and I want to give you guys a chart review today. So let's get right into it. You can see today was a pretty typical range day. In the overnight we had this move down, break a new low, then a move up, and it looks like a small little break here and a new high right at the open. Got this second entry, or visual, it's technically not because of these couple breaks lower here, but visually two legs for a second entry short and a triple test. Personally, let me zoom in a little bit. I don't think I can take this trade. Get the three bullish bars after bouncing strong to the EMA. So I'm personally a little concerned that we get a second leg up here. A lot of times you get a break and two legs up. So something like this, and you can see that ended up getting a full second leg here, right around two measured legs. You can see there. Something to consider there, but for me that's a little too aggressive. I didn't mark that. We got a strong little move down here. Comes back through the EMA, just kind of chops sideways in this area, push up higher. We get a failed second entry short here, but right into the highs, so, and congested as well, so nothing to take there in my opinion. We push higher here. This blue uptrend gets a break right here, and you get a second entry long. Fortunately, the bar's not very good, and it's right after this really strong bear bar. But then you can see we get a failed second entry short here, also a bit of a triple or even quadruple test. Pretty good bar. I wish I had a little more tail to it rather than just a full body. You may want to try to consider that on engulfing or a limit, just because by the time it closes, and if you entered one tick above, pretty big risk and very close to the highs. So you may want to try to get a couple ticks back. And you can see you got right at 2 points there. Ends up going almost 3. So I think that's a pretty decent trade. Just got to be cognizant of your target. So we create another new high here, push really strongly below the EMA. Really strong down move here, but notice we weren't able to even get to the lower overnight lows. Personally, right here, I am looking for a second entry short, but fortunately, it doesn't set up, which would have burned you if this did look good. But the little micro uptrend here is pretty strong, so you would have to consider that as well. So anyway, we push through that EMA. We come back and get a second entry long, inside bar congested. Then we get a higher low. Kind of a big risk, just a tad bit congested, but a really good bar here. Had a little bit of tail on top, but still a pretty good bar for a higher low. Big risk though, 14 ticks. This is another one you may want to try to get a limit. Looks like you could have gotten a couple ticks back here. The only problem is, you may be worried that this really strong move here needs a retest. We can see that we bounced at that EMA, and that's the second confirmation of that. So even if we get a retest on this, you may be thinking we'll probably retest this trend first. This is kind of is like a structured layer. A lot of times these smaller trends will play out first, and then the bigger trend will continue. So you see you got enough room there. So you want to have room for the scalp if you got in on a little bit of a limit. Barely would have gotten out if you went right at the top of that bar. But either way, it comes back, and you would have gotten out later. You would have survived this. We get a second entry here, but now we've got that retest, and it's starting to look a little sideways there. Bar's not that great anyway. We push up, strong move down, and we just keep making higher highs and higher lows here. This trend right here is really kind of odd. I think you can draw it a couple ways. It wasn't really clear. You may be able to draw it like this here. This looks decent too. I think it may be this spike in channel, but it's one of those trends that's just not very clear, in my opinion. So either way, you just got to kind of be careful. I mean, clearly we're working higher here, but as we get closer and closer to these highs, it's feeling like a range day, so you need to start being careful, especially since this isn't all that clear. EMA is holding though, so keep that in mind. So kind of a tough spot. We get this strong little uptrend here. Get like a third entry here, so I don't think you can take that. Then it just gets very sideways. Push higher, right to those highs again. We get a first entry, so no setup there. Gets a new high on this smaller intermediate trend. Come back, we get a triple test, but if you're not trusting this spike in channel or the bigger trend, if you had it drawn differently, you probably want to be a little careful of this one too. It is a triple test, but like I said, these smaller trends have played out, it seems, and we're coming off those highs. Really small little inside bar compared to this huge setup bar. So Not a big fan of that one either. Then we just chop sideways and a bit lower. Bounce right at that key entry point of the spike and channel, but it's working lower here, and you may have had something like this. Push higher, we get a higher low. Coming off those overnight lows, not overnight highs, but the overall highs, need to be careful. I can see why this higher low would be tempting, but you know, if you're looking here, this is really like a smaller range in and of itself. Yeah, we're pretty close to those highs, so really good bar, so that probably fooled some people. But you can see how sideways we are, so a higher low is not necessarily what I'm looking for in this range type environment. Anyway, push lower. Make a break on this spike and channel if it is valid. Just get a first entry. We get a second entry short, but so far from the EMA, this may retest. Kind of a big unknown area in this area, so I think you got to avoid that one too. So now we got the new low. Come back and get a first entry. We get a second entry, but really sideways, and it appears that this downtrend has already played out. We could get a second leg to a new low, but it's kind of unclear here. Get that second leg down, bounce right at this midline, almost to the tick. Push higher, get a fairly nice little uptrend. I was wanting a second entry here at the EMA, but forms so high, kind of sideways again. Gets the new high, out sideways. We get this little downtrend right into the 330 hour. So yeah, not much happening at all. Kind of slower movement again today. So these are the two trades I like. If you had a better bar here, and maybe look at this kind of like a visual, but really that occurred here, so I take that back. Just kind of a tough spot in here. But it looks okay, in my opinion, when the higher low form. But after that, right there, see, that looks fine. But then we get the new high, so you got to be a little more careful in here. Right into that big midline too. But yeah, you got the triple test, failed second entry short, and then just a little higher low here after the EMA showed support right here. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and thanks for watching.